We are raised on a single, unbreakable promise. Family comes first. From the moment we're born, we are taught that our bloodline is our fortress, our safety net, and the one connection that is supposed to endure, no matter what. But what happens when the safety net becomes the trap? What do you do when the place that's supposed to be your sanctuary becomes the very source of your suffering? Right now, there is a silent epidemic happening behind closed doors. It's not just a fight, it's not just drama. Adult children are making the agonizing decision to cut ties. Siblings are drifting into silence. It's called family estrangement. To the outside world, it looks like a sudden act of rebellion, an ungrateful child, an abandoned parent. But if you look closer, behind the silence, you rarely find a simple story of anger. Instead, you find a complex psychology of survival. So why do we actually reach this breaking point? Is it really an impulsive decision, or is it a desperate measure to save your own sanity? In this video, we are stripping away the stigma. We're going to debunk the myth of the sudden split, uncover the years of invisible scars that lead to the exit, and analyze the toxic dynamics that make no contact the only viable option. If you were drowning in guilt or trying to understand why someone you love has walked away, this isn't just an explanation. This is the validation you've been waiting for. Let's dive in. For many of you watching this, estrangement isn't about abandoning the family. It's about escaping the role that was destroying you. We often talk about the wounds that bleed, the fights, the shouting, but some wounds leave silence, and those are often the ones that cut the deepest. We call this emotional neglect. It is stealthy. It leaves no bruises, no police reports. There is no clear date on the calendar you can circle and say, that right there, that is when it happened. Instead, it is defined by the void of what never happened, the comfort that wasn't offered, the protection that never came, the curiosity about your inner world that no one ever showed. Growing up like this teaches a child something brutal, that your feelings are either too much or simply invisible. And as adults, we carry this private ache. I call it the empty well. Think about how many times you have gone back to the source, hoping just once to draw water. You tell yourself, maybe this time they will see me. Maybe this time they will ask a real question. Maybe this time I won't just get breadcrumbs. But every single visit ends the same way. Dust in the hand, an empty bucket, and that familiar, crushing disappointment. Here is the hard truth. Most people don't leave because of active malice. They leave because of passive inability. Estrangement is not about rejecting them. It is the acceptance that you cannot drink from a mirage. The trauma of what happened can be healed, but the trauma of what never happened, that is haunting. Because you aren't just missing a relationship, you're grieving a childhood you never got to live. Estrangement almost never begins with an explosion. It begins with erosion. It is slow, quiet, and almost invisible to the outside world. For years, the photos look normal. Birthdays are celebrated. Holidays are endured. But beneath that surface, the foundation is wearing down, layer by layer. It's not one giant catastrophe that breaks you. It is death by 1,000 cuts. It's the subtle criticism, disguised as concern. It's the boundary that gets pushed just a little further every year. It's the constant pressure to shrink parts of yourself just to keep the peace. Individually, these moments seem small. You let them slide, but together, they become a cage. And eventually, your body reacts before your mind does. You know that feeling? You tense up the second the phone rings. You catch yourself rehearsing arguments in the shower. You fold yourself into a smaller and smaller shape, hoping to avoid the friction. That isn't just family drama. That is chronic anxiety woven into your daily life. People don't walk away because they suddenly stop caring.
They walk away because they have run out of capacity, out of energy, out of hope, out of room to take another hit. Before the silence comes the exhaustion. It's not anger, it's depletion. To the spectator, cutting ties looks like an impulsive snap. It's as if a switch flipped one morning. You chose violence and vanished. Parents claim it came out of the blue. Friends ask, but weren't you just laughing together? But that is the deception of the eruption effect. Think about a volcano. An explosion only seems instant to the people who ignored the tremors beneath the ground. Magma does not materialize in a second. It gathers quietly, invisibly, over decades. The Earth suppresses it until the physics make it impossible to hold it in any longer. Family separation operates on this exact physics. The blown-up argument over Christmas dinner, the sharp text message, those are never the actual root. They are merely the second the containment failed, the final straw in a heavy stack of crossed lines, dismissed feelings, and unhealed wounds. To the parent, the logic is, you are really leaving me over this one trivial thing? But to the adult child, the reality is, no, I am not reacting to today. I am reacting to a lifetime of today's. The departure looks abrupt only because the endurance was quiet. Estrangement is almost never a reflex. It is a saturation point. It is a venting of pressure that simply ran out of room to exist. And once that mountain blows, the landscape is altered forever.
Long before anyone chooses distance, most of us have already been locked into scripts we never auditioned for. In dysfunctional families, your identity is not discovered, it is assigned. It's like being forced to wear a costume that doesn't fit for 20 years, and usually you are cast into one of 4 roles. First, the golden child. You are the trophy, the extension of your parents' ego. You get the praise, yes, but the cost? You have to sacrifice your entire soul just to be their perfect reflection. Then, the scapegoat. You are the bin for the family's toxic waste. You are the problem child. But ironically, you are often the healthiest one in the room. Why? Because you are the only one refusing to pretend that the dysfunction is normal. You are the truth teller. Third, the invisible child. You survive by fading into the wallpaper. You learn to need nothing. You learn that visibility equals danger. You grow up independent, sure, but deep down, you feel apologetic just for taking up space. And finally, the parentified child. This is the heaviest burden of all. You became the therapist for your own parents, the peacekeeper. You grew up believing that love isn't a gift, it is a wage, something you have to earn through service and silence. None of these roles allow you to be real. They are designed to keep you as a prop, not a person. And this is why leaving feels so dangerous. When you finally try to take off the mask, when you try to step out of that role, the system panics, it resists, it punishes. Because in families like these, the moment you reclaim yourself is the moment you become the threat. If estrangement seems sudden to outsiders, the staying is the real mystery. Why do people endure years, sometimes decades of pain before finally stepping away? The answer lies in 2 powerful psychological traps: trauma bonding and the hope cycle. Trauma bonding is tricky. It forms when moments of harm are mixed with moments of warmth, a cutting remark followed by a hug, weeks of cold silence followed by one perfect afternoon. Your nervous system gets conditioned to confuse this inconsistency with passion. You start to behave like a gambler at a slot machine. You convince yourself, if I just try harder, if I just stay quieter, maybe I will finally earn the love I deserve. You learn to confuse crumbs with a feast. And that is where the hope cycle traps you. The problem isn't that you don't love your family. The problem is that you are in love with their potential, not their reality. You are waiting for the parent they could be, instead of accepting the person they consistently are. You are holding space for a ghost,
Many of us stay because we were taught a lie that protecting yourself makes you selfish, that leaving makes you disloyal. So you endure, you shrink, you wait for a breakthrough that never comes. When someone finally walks away, it's not because they stopped loving their family, it's because they realized the cycle was never going to change, and they realized that staying meant losing pieces of themselves, 1 year at a time. Estrangement often begins with a heartbreaking realization: if I stay, I will disappear. When people hear the words "no contact," they imagine a drastic act of anger, a grudge, a punishment. But in reality, distance is rarely a weapon. It is a strategy of survival. And it doesn't always look the same. It comes in levels. First, there is low contact. This is an information diet. You shorten the visits. You keep the topics superficial: weather, sports, traffic. It's a way of saying, I still care about you, but I can no longer give you access to my inner life. Then there is the gray rock method. This is designed for toxic dynamics. You become neutral, predictable, and unreactive, like a boring gray rock. By refusing to get upset, you cut off the fuel that powers the conflict. You starve the fire of its oxygen. And finally, no contact. This is the last resort. We don't choose this because we hate our family. We choose it because every lesser boundary was ignored. We choose it because we screamed "stop" 1,000 times and no one listened. Let's be clear, distance is not rejection. It is clarity. It is the moment you finally admit to yourself, I cannot change you, I cannot heal you, but I have to heal me.
We think the moment we walk away is the climax of the pain, but the real struggle, it begins in the quiet after. Psychologists call this ambiguous loss. It is a strange kind of grief. It's like living in a ghost story where the ghost is still alive. You are grieving someone who is still waking up every day, still smiling in photos, still celebrating holidays, but is dead to you emotionally. There is no funeral, no gravesite, no closure, just a persistent ellipsis where an ending should be. And in this silence, you are actually mourning 2 deaths. You are mourning the parent you lost, but more painfully, you are mourning the parent you wished you had. You are finally burying the dream that one day they would change. This is why it feels so confusing. When you finally leave, your panic subsides. The drama stops. Your nervous system finally exhales. But that relief, it often comes packaged with shame. You feel guilty for feeling good, as if saving your own peace is an act of treason. Listen to me, this guilt is not a sign you made the wrong choice. This is the tax you pay for your freedom. It is the heavy price of placing your future above your history. But for many of you, it is the only way to stop this burden from being passed down to the next generation. For many of you, estrangement is not the end of the story. It is not the closing credits. It is the opening scene of a life you were never allowed to fully live. Once the noise quiets down and the guilt finally softens, something unexpected begins to bloom. You. Reclaiming your identity is a slow, tender process, but one day you realize you have stopped shrinking yourself to fit into their box. You have stopped apologizing simply for existing. You begin to trust your own voice. And this journey transforms you into something powerful. You become a cycle breaker. We don't leave out of bitterness. We leave out of a fierce determination. We look at all the pain, the neglect, the chaos, and we say, this pain dies with me. We refuse to hand down that emptiness to the people we love. And on this road, you will find something beautiful, your family of choice. Friends who feel like a warm blanket, a partner who genuinely hears you, connections built on mutual love, not blood debts. These are the people who choose you, not because they have to, but because they see you. This is the real victory. It's not just about walking away from the house you were born in. It is about finally building the home your soul has always deserved. In the end, let's be clear about one thing. Walking away doesn't mean you are heartless. It just means you finally stopped setting yourself on fire just to keep them warm. It means you chose peace over chaos, you chose clarity over confusion, and you chose healing over history. And that choice, though it hurts right now, it is the bravest thing you will ever do. As you move forward, please give yourself permission. You are allowed to grieve. You are allowed to grow. You are allowed to build a life shaped not by the wounds of your past, but by the love you choose, the boundaries you deserve, and the future you are finally giving yourself permission to live. If this video made you feel seen, even in the small way, please know you are not alone. There is a whole family of survivors walking this same quiet path with you. If you want to keep walking with us, consider subscribing. We explore the hidden corners of the human heart here every week. And I have one request. If you feel comfortable, head down to the comments. Tell us, what is the one thing you would say to your younger self, knowing what you know now? Your story might just be the light that someone else is desperately looking for. Take care of yourself. You deserve to heal.